There's a few different triangles you can work with, and triangles are really important. Let's start by drawing out a little triangle. So here's one example of a triangle. There's a few ways we denote how triangles work. The first thing is there's a rectangle in the corner, and this rectangle means 90 degrees. Okay, that's exactly what that means. Now, what is degrees and how do they work? Well, if you have a compass looking like this, or even a clock, let's say, you can divide it up into different sections. All right. Now, if the hand is here, and we talk about this being like the starting line or the baseline in a clock, if we go this way 90 degrees, then we end up with our line here. So this is our 90-degree angle that's there. If we wanted to extend that further, we could say, okay, well, if you continue this way, then you end up down here at 180 degrees. And if you continue again to the right, you add another 90 degrees, which ends up with 270 degrees. Degrees is this little tiny dot that I'm putting on here. And then back again, you end up with 360 degrees, okay? There's another way you can talk about this where 90 degrees is actually pi by 2 because pi is 180 degrees. This one is going to be just pi. This one's going to be 3 pi by 2. And this one is going to be 2 pi. Okay? So that's like other ways we can talk about these circles and how they're plotted. This is really important for a lot of things, and we're going to talk about sine, cos, and tan. The next way you can denote triangles is you can put these little lines to say that, you know, things are similar or different. So in this case, we've got what we know about this triangle. Oops. What we know about this triangle is that it has this line and this line are the same length, and this line is a different length. Another thing we can see sometimes is that people will put, you know, a circle in here and a circle in here, saying that these angles are the same. So let's talk about some angles in a triangle. The first thing is we can talk about a triangle like this, where there's a line down the center. I'm just going to switch back. So you got a triangle like this, line down the center, and this is your 90-degree angle. So this is two triangles side by side, both having a right angle in the bottom corner. That's another way to describe a triangle. Another way to describe a triangle would be where you have, well, I guess it's this is one length, this is another length, and this is another length, right? They're all different sizes. So how do we figure out the lengths of these things? Well, it comes down to this formula. A squared equals B squared plus C squared, okay? So A, B, and C, what do these three things mean? Well, when we have a triangle with, you know, different lengths on this side, we're going to mark it as this is side A, which is the hypotenuse, and you've got B and C. Hypotenuse just means the longest side of a triangle. And we'll say this is in a right angle triangle, right? So in this case, if you have, let's say 2 is how long this is, and 3 is how long this is, right? Then we're going to say that A squared equals 2 squared plus 3 squared, okay? 2 squared is equal to 4, and 9 is 3 squared. So to add those two together, we get 13, and that's what A squared is. So if we want to get the 13 by itself, we need to do the square root of both sides. So A equals root 13. That's how long that side is, okay? So then we need to think about angles, but we'll probably talk about that in the next video. But this is just how you use this A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The only time you can use it is when you are in a right-angled triangle, and it's used when you have two sides and you want to figure out a third side. Let's talk about another example that might be a little more complicated. So let's say we've got our triangle here again, and we've got our A, our B, and our C, okay, on a right-angled triangle. And in this case, we have B is 10, and A is 20, and we want to know what C is. So we have to write out our formula again. So let's do that here. Our formula is going to be A squared equals B squared plus C squared. So in our case, we don't have C, but we have A. So we say 20 squared is equal to 10 squared plus c squared. Now, we need to break this down into the actual numbers, so we're going to bring the 10 to the other side of the equation, and that means I have to subtract it from both sides. So I'm going to end up with 20 squared minus 10 squared equals c squared. In this case, it's going to be 400 minus 100 equals c squared. So that gives us 300 equals c squared. Take the square root of both sides. We've got c equals root 300. Okay. Now I'm going to sanity check this before I go any further and take a guess at what that is. I know it's less than 20 and more than 10, right? This number that's here, because 20 was the number that we had at the top. Whoops. 20 was the number that we had here, and 10 was the number that we had here. So I don't really know what it is. Let's use the calculator. Where's my calculator? I don't have it on here right now. Anyway, I'll get it later. Anyway, it's close to, let's say, 15 or something, right? Which makes sense because we've got two smaller sides on the triangle, right? This side and this side have to be smaller than this side, and that's what we have in the end. So that's just the basics of triangles and how they work, and we'll talk more on them soon.